the wind and the audience takes us. Is that okay? All right. So let me pop up a little picture for you, and I'll share this. So just a moment while I work through the technology side of this. How do I do a screen share in this?
In the bottom of your screen.
Oh, there it is. Oh, the big green button that says share screen. That's helpful.
Yep.
All right. So here is a website. It's called, oh wait, let me pick it. And there, I'm there. Are we there?
I see it.
Yes, you can see that.
Oh, good. So this is modernagile.org, and I wanted to introduce Modern Agile. It is not a methodology to compete in the open marketplace with SAFe, Less, Scrum, XP, et cetera, et cetera. What this is it's a .org site. It is a community. It is an outgrowth of several different things. Largely, this was bootstrapped by Josh Karyevsky, who is owner, leader at Industrial Logic, which is a company I work for. This is the first community of Modern Agile was within our company, and with some of our colleagues and friends and thought leaders that we associate with. And there was a growing dissatisfaction with the way that Agile had been heading for a while. And mostly, we'd found that the most dysfunctional Agile installations we've seen, installations is a bad word for this, organizations claiming agility tended to be a cargo culting of certain behaviors, usually behaviors from Scrum, but only enough of that that they can continue doing things the way they've always done with the same kind of philosophy. And those of us who've been in this for quite a long time, I've been in software since, what was that, 1979, and grew up, the Agile movement was during my professional career, the entire thing. Remembering how powerful and humanistic and beautiful it was in the beginning, and how productive it was, how much we got things done, and how well we worked together. Going into different organizations where that's not the case, where people are, they're holding some meetings and they've changed some titles, but they're not really doing anything Agile. We were thinking, you know, well, maybe we should leave the Agile community. Maybe it's gone so far that there's no reason. Or maybe we should dive in and try to make a difference. And it took some time to deliberate. Eventually, where we settled was there are 4 values that make a real difference between whether we're truly Agile or just going through some motions. And this is the phrasing we've settled on. Nothing in Modern Agile is forever. Everything is being considered and moving forward. But we realized first, you know, that the soul has been kind of removed. We want to put that back in. So if you see on the vertical axis at the top, there's something called Make People Awesome. And at the bottom on the sticker, there's Make Safety a Prerequisite. This is returning humanity into the Agile practices we see. Now, Make People Awesome it can be triggery for people. It has some words that upset them. The intention is to give people the ability to be literally awe-inspiring by the way they do their work. So Josh has a couple of good examples, but my favorite one is GPS guidance. I'm a directionally challenged person, and I have a poor memory for lists. So my life as a consultant was very difficult. I would travel to a strange city. I would find my way to a hotel. From there, I would have to find my way to a work site. And all of the roads are unfamiliar. I don't know which way is north. And to make it worse, I can't memorize, turn left on this street, turn right on that street, turn left on the next street. I would tend to lose that. So I would learn, I would struggle, get there early, drive the route, get lost a couple times, make sure I have maps, find my way back. And then I would only go from the hotel to the work. And if I ate supper or lunch, it was on the way between the 2 places. I couldn't afford to be lost. With the GPS guidance system now, I can go anywhere I want. I go sightseeing, I go to restaurants, I go. So the people who created the GPS guidance systems gave me the ability to have a better life. Also the ability to show up on time for meetings and to actually find the work site that I'm going to, and to travel from city to city, even in foreign countries. And this is an amazing power. You probably have things you use every day that are similarly powerful for you. If not, that's a shame. And if so, great. Those were people who are trying to make people awesome. It's not always just the customer, it's also your workers and bosses. At the bottom, though, is make safety a prerequisite. And this is a recognition of, I'm sorry. Okay. That's a recognition of the fact that we need not only practical safety, but psychological safety. Psychological safety is just the knowledge that it is safe to take interpersonal risks. So if I need to do a thing and it might be upsetting, I know that that won't be a career-ending or relationship-breaking situation. Psychological safety is really important, but also safety is wrapped up in your ability to recover from a failure. So what if somebody checks in bad code? Well, if that means that all the customers are going to have systems failing, that's not safe. So you build safety by putting in some defenses. So you probably have micro tests, unit tests, system tests, etc. And you probably have a pipeline that tests go through from the time they're committed until they become a release candidate, or ideally go live. So those are kinds of safety too. Likewise, there's physical safety. I probably shouldn't work in a building where there's black mold, right? So by caring for people and making the people we work with safe and making the work we do safe, that humanizes where we are, and it also frees people up to take chances and to do cool, innovative things. At the top, of course, is our focus on making people awesome, which is to give them the ability to do their things, to live their life, to do their work more powerfully, more amazingly. And that extends, of course, to all of our colleagues. That's the vertical axis, which, by the way, goes with a pillar of lean, which is respect for people. And then if you look at the horizontal axis, there are two things there. One is to experiment and learn rapidly, and the other is to deliver value continuously. This horizontal is all continuous improvement. If you look at the lean pillar, that's pillar number 2. But for us, this is the area of pragmatism, right? So you have humanity and safety is pragmatic in its way. But on the left side, or on the horizontal axis rather, you see that we want to deliver more continuously, way more continuously than the existing Agile methods would have us do. Existing Agile methods tend to suggest a time box. And at the end of the time box, you deliver. But we think you can deliver not just software, but with using these values, you could deliver anything. It could be delivering lunch. It could be delivering advice. It could be delivering treatment for illnesses, mental or physical. Whatever value is, soon and often is the goal. And this is important because in the time that the Agile has existed, we've gone from releases that require printed discs and printed books and boxes to the web. And in the web, there is continuous delivery. And also, we've reached a world of lean startup where we build and deliver things in order to learn what to build and deliver. And that cycle of feedback is only possible because now we have the ability to deliver much more continuously than before, make course corrections faster. And of course, the other piece of that is to experiment and learn rapidly, which we've learned. Some organizations are consumers of people only. So when you join the organization, that's as good as you're ever going to be there. Most likely, they don't put a lot of value on learning, on reading, on studying, on experimenting. Innovation is something that will be done by the Innovation Center. Your job is to write code or test code or manage the people doing the dirty work, they say. We don't believe that that's a proper division. Everybody who's involved in software at any level is a knowledge worker. And knowledge workers need to constantly be learning and developing, creating acuity and competence. So experiment and learn rapidly might be such a core value that it totally distinguishes a modern agile organization from what we would call a feature mill or a feature factory. So these 4 things we've decided describe what we intend by the phrase modern agile. So is this something you do instead of Scrum? It can be. It's not something that you can't do while you're doing Scrum. In Scrum with Modern Agile, you start to move in a better direction. Is this something that you do instead of XP? No. All of these values align just fine with XP. Is this something you do instead of SAFe? Maybe, but if you're finding SAFe is without a soul, maybe this is what you're missing. Is this something you can do without software development? Yes. Any area of business, these are phrased particularly to not describe software, but to describe any business that is human-centric, that deals with knowledge workers, that delivering and learning is important, that service to others is important, and all human beings need safety. It's fundamental. So that's the basic story, and I want to share that with you because that's so core to where we are. I need to unshare the screen now. Here we go. I don't know exactly how to do it though. Can you help me to unshare my screen?
Yeah, in the bottom, you can, where same place that you shared, you can start.
I don't have that window anymore.
Okay, hang on 1 second.
That window totally disappeared on me.
Okay, hang on.
Because I think you're still in my window and I don't really need you to be there right now.
Okay, I just stopped the share and so you can reshare.
Okay. And now I have the window that has a share screen button on it again. Thank you.
You're welcome. By the way, I had no idea about the horizontal and vertical axes the way that you described them. So I'm so grateful that you said that in that way.
You know, that wasn't intentional. And when Josh and I recognized that, we were both kind of excited because I found that the 2 pillars of lean are exactly respect for people and continuous improvement. And there they are, vertical and horizontal. Pretty exciting. So we have some questions. So what is the role and the value of a coach in regard to the development team? I did not say Scrum team. So there aren't any official roles. Modern Agile really is 4 values, and whatever you do to bring those values to the front is the right thing to do. We find it is useful for people who have not yet adopted the mindset to have some kind of mentoring. So if I am coaching a Scrum team, it certainly behooves me to bring Modern Agile values into that Scrum team, right? But there isn't, again, there's not just a Modern Agile process, and there are no Modern Agile roles. So whether there's a coach or not is that what you want? Is that what you need? I am happy to help people adopt the values. And I think that there's a lot of things people don't know that play into this. It's fairly deep, right? So how much do you really understand the process and skill of trusting? And how much do you understand the creation of safety and implementing psychological safety? You know, those are things that can be taught and can be coached. How well do you understand teamwork? So certainly hiring somebody who has worked in a Modern Agile shop or who has been following the Modern Agile way, you may find that they understand things in a different way and see the work you're doing differently. And I think that's really what it is you would bring a coach in for some thought leadership to help you understand things you didn't know before. But there's no official Modern Agile coach. There are coaches who are also Modern Agile people.
So would you start with Modern Agile even if you weren't doing any Agile at all right now? So if you're trying to move from Waterfall to Agile, could you envision a way where people could just embrace the Modern Agile and sort of skip the baby steps like the old laptops and sprinting and story pointing, or do you think that's a little bit undoable?
So this will be hypothetical. I have not actually gone straight from RUP to Modern Agile. But let's go this way. If your team were to decide to build safety and continuous delivery, right? So clearly, to do that, you're going to have to be experimenting and learning, right? And maybe at this point, you're not focused on your service to the rest of the world, but you could start with those bottom 3 segments. Then by learning to safely deliver continuously, then I think you're going to take a big step forward. And then the other part is very much organizational. In most waterfall and REP organizations, development is strongly divided and pulled away and insulated from actual people in the world, actual other people in the world. So that would be the other thing, that you probably need to bring somebody in to help you with the idea of lean startup and customer empathy and user experience and those things. I think you could start just with, let's try to deliver safely all the time. I think it would take you to good places.
Thanks for that, yeah.
We have another one from Jeff. Who drives the framework? Is this something the team decides on, or something the coach promotes and the team agrees and sees values? I think that since there is no official coach, then it would pretty clearly be what people decide on. If you brought someone in to coach, then they would help make decisions and help build a path. But I don't think that there is a process or a framework that has to be instilled. Sometimes I work with teams who've decided they'd like to do Scrum. And when that happens, I will teach them to do actual Scrum. And let me share an article with you that's gotten a lot of attention lately. I'll paste it here in the notes. But if you go to the agileotter.blogspot.com, currently it's the top of the list, but you can find it. There's a search box. There's no such thing as a Scrum development team. And it's taking a lot of times you get somebody, we're going to do Scrum. Okay, well, here's what you do. You retitle your bosses. You call one a Scrum Master. You call the other a PO. You throw away the other titles for now, except for, of course, lead and tester and things like that. So you keep your sub-teams. And then we'll hold a daily meeting. And then we'll hold a meeting at the beginning of the month and a meeting at the end of the month. There. Now we're doing Scrum. We're Agile. That's cargo culting. Yeah, so it's really so far from Scrum. And if you take a look at the article, you'll see I'm actually just quoting the Scrum guide when it describes what an actual team is like. And I find that that's very rare. But if you look at it, you'll see the Modern Agile values writ large on the description. And I think you'll find that maybe interesting and maybe upsetting, because it may be that people who are doing Scrum aren't actually doing Scrum at all as described. But I would help people to learn that. Of course, a lot of times we're brought in to help people with XP skills, and I'll teach XP skills, but I'll teach them with a strong leaning toward Modern Agile values. And so that's pretty much as far as I can go with framework. There really isn't, and by the way, there's no certification. There's no, pretty much that sticker and our discussions are the official doctrine, right? Yeah. The dogma is we care about people, we make it safe, we learn as much as we can, and we deliver value as early and often as possible. Yeah. End of dogma.
Yeah, no, I saw this article before, and I that's totally what I've seen too in my experience. So I'm glad that someone's laid it out there. Jeff had another question about guide rails being built in traditional Agile, and then evangelists or Agile police telling people you have to do it this way or the highway. That's not Modern Agile, is it? That's just a question that he was asking.
No, that would not be a Modern Agile thing at all. No, we don't have anybody driving that. It really is, we would get together and we would see what is going to help other people to be awesome, what is safe, how do we learn faster, how can we deliver more? And we would do whatever it takes to do that. And as long as we're aligned philosophically and we're perfectly welcome to call ourselves Modern Agile. In fact, there are no Modern Agile police. We don't have a Gestapo. Really, I can't tell you what you have to do, but I would help you decide if you wanted me to, or, you don't need me. You take the 4 values and run with them. There's no licensing issue. It's just all totally, even the fonts on the sticker are public domain.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So we've worked very hard to avoid having ownership with any company or organization, and nobody certifies or sells
Yeah, that's great.
It's
So Tim, actually there is a question like, I mean, I understand that we are coming with the modern agile, but there must be certain issues with how people have been working with the existing agile manifesto that forced you to think towards modern agile. So what were those things? And because people can try to relate how modern agile is different than how what they are doing right now.
so I'm not sure where to start. There's a lot to that question.
But I think that people want to know about it. That's what I feel.
So let me pop something up that's useful. That would be, so let's do a little quick comparison of Modern Agile and Standard Agile by the Agile Manifesto. As soon as I can find the darn window and share it. That's not the one I wanted. Ah, now I found it. So I'm going to try to share a screen again, and you may have to help me get it back at the end. Ah, there we go. Oh, now I get a little top bar. This is much better this time.
Great.
So here is the key phrase from the Agile Manifesto. So I borrowed a couple of phrases and the background, which I'm allowed to do. That's okay. So the best thing is we're uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. The key parts, the emphasis is mine on this. Notice that uncovering better ways, doing it, and helping others are the parts that I highlighted. That doesn't leave a whole lot behind. I kind of skipped out the developing software bit. If what we're doing isn't uncovering better ways, then probably what we're doing is not really agile. So people want to have a process they follow that has steps, and they did the steps, they check them off, therefore I'm safe, right? It never started there, and it doesn't end there. And Modern Agile actually extends this forward. Now, this says developing software because it's the manifesto for Agile software development, and Modern Agile isn't limited to software. But there's a couple of neat pieces in here. And again, emphasis mine. By uncovering better ways, we have come to value these things. Now notice it doesn't say that this is a fait accompli and it can't extend. It just says this is where we are. But take a look at the first one, individuals and interactions. It sounds an awful lot like make people awesome. Working software sounds like continuously delivering things and keeping safety. So does individuals and interactions. That goes to safety. Customer collaboration instead of contracts. Contract is self-protection and other protection, but collaboration is about service. And it's not that we don't have contracts, but it's really more about service to others than ticking off the items and responding to change over following a plan. Notice that where we've talked about agile things going wrong, it's always been the things on the right-hand side have taken precedence, right? Is there a process and a tool for Modern Agile? Not really. Is that intended? Yeah. Should there be any tools? Maybe, maybe not. Comprehensive documentation. Well, we got a website, a sticker, and a Slack group. I think we're doing good there. Collaboration. Do we have contracts and certifications and proofs of modern agility? No. Following plan. But you'll see that, take a look at what people are doing now. It's like, you think you're doing Scrum, you think you're doing XP. Are you reliant on doing the things that your processes and tools support? Or are you really focused on interactions? You don't have to go very far for that. You don't have to even dig into our sticker to get there. Are we really trying to write documents that people cannot misunderstand? Or are we trying to make software by understanding what we're doing? So I think that even right here, you can say, are we really doing what we're doing? No, we're really not. If what we're doing is we have decided what we're going to deliver in 3 years and we're following our plan to the letter, we don't allow change, and we're doing it with contract negotiation and documentation, and our process is enforcing that, I can say what you're doing is not only not Agile, it's also not Scrum, it's not XP, it's not less, it's not safe, it's not, right?
Yeah.
Is that helpful at all?
Yeah. Well, so someone here had a question about, and it sounds like you may have sort of answered this. What does the conversation sound like when informing senior leadership of an organization of the benefits of modern Agile when perhaps they're only familiar with Scrum and XP? So it sounds like indirectly you also answered that question where modern Agile is just getting back to the basics of where we really wanted to be with Agile, and is inherently should be part of Scrum and XP. And if not, then you're not really being Agile anyway.
Yeah, and I would go so far as to say not only should it be a part of Scrum and XP and whatever else, but it will take you beyond the bounds of those things. So I'm going to bring up one other little picture. I'm hoping. Let's see if I can open this document. So I have a little Venn diagram I've been sharing. So let me pop that open. Just a second here. Talk among yourselves.
So yeah, this other comment was, I like the idea of focusing on principles. I'm not sure how to get others on board without a process as a starting point. Any thoughts? So how do we become Agile without a starting point of some known process or framework that can guide us, like Scrum? I am imagining this person might have meant.
So there's absolutely nothing wrong with starting wherever you want to start. But I think that you could start by trying to create, just trying to create continuous deployment takes you so far along the right path. It's powerful stuff. It's not easy. And I think that in the course of that trip, that whole travel, that whole route is going to be giving you what you need to have in order to go there. I'm still looking for my document. I'm sorry. I'm stuttering when I do that. I'm putting my hands away.
It's so funny though, the way that you mentioned it, because the course of my last 7 to 8 years in Agile transformation and Agile conversion, and it's so funny you showed the manifesto, and it's individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And I may be speaking for the 30 plus people that are on right now. But what happens is when you start focusing on framework and you get in big organizations that all they want to talk about is tracking things in Jira and Rally, Agile itself starts to become more about processes and tools. And we totally lose sight of that individual and interaction collaboration part.
Yes, I think it's a horrible distraction. And by the way, the tools, I don't have anything against. Jira and version 1 and Rally. We're going to need to mute this.
Got some music.
Yeah, somebody's got to mute that. I don't know whose that is. Maybe we can find that and mute it. Okay, good. Done. Okay, I think I'm sharing a screen, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, so I am sharing a screen, I think, right now. Is that true? Little Venn diagram?
Yes.
You are.
Okay, good. So where I was going, so we'll have to cut that little interruption out, so I'll start back with the beginning. I don't have anything against the tool vendors. I don't hate the people who make Jira, Rally, version 1, Lean Kit, Trello. I really don't have anything against them. I know what they're doing, and most of these people tried to do something that was helpful and tried to make a distributed board and connect people up that way and make it easier. But I also know that these people are trying to build a product and sell it. And at some point, people are asking for things that are not very agile things. And they have salaries to pay also. So I'm going to bring up a stop using. Oh, there we are. Nope. So here's an egregious example And this is at the Industrial Logic blog. This is something that I see in physical form. So you can see this diagram, this little picture, where they build swim lanes per person. And that's not an agile approach to things. It's not about having individuals do the work. It's really about teaming and being successful that way.
Yeah, I actually had people, sorry about that. I actually had, somebody keeps unmuting. I actually had, I want to say, somebody in a retrospective tell me, well, I don't want to help somebody get their stuff done because that's interrupting me from doing my stuff. So they actually said that in a retrospective. That's exactly the kind of thing that you get with that. And then we're not really acting as a team at that point.
So I was going to bring up another picture, but I think that it's best I don't. When I went to a couple of tool vendors' websites, they showed their default configuration, and it was exactly this. There are people who have used the storyboard or the Kanban board, and they put per person swim lanes, and their purpose is to make sure that each person feels guilty if they don't get their work done, that it's visible that they're not completing, that they're not performing, and that everybody knows it, and that this embarrassment is supposed to create productivity. Everything that we know about knowledge workers tells us this is not true and cannot work. In fact, it destroys productivity. It turns teammates against each other, whereas it may be that the skills you need are in your own team, and if 3 or 4 of you were to work together, you could get the whole thing done. But you're not going to do that. You've been separated, and you're being ranked and being measured, and you know it. This is not an agile way of working. It's also not a good way for knowledge workers in general. It's not productive in the least. It doesn't continuously deliver value. In fact, it ensures that every piece of work being done has the minimum amount of brain power applied to it. So it will take longer. There's a lot of jobs where one person doing the work, handing it off to another person who does the work, who hands it off. It could have been, take 3 weeks being done this way, and with a lot of stress and pressure and pain and the use of pillory, which is, creates a lot of psychological unsafety. Whereas those 3 people could have gotten together and done it in a day and a half, and it would have been delivered sooner. So these things are evil, and I won't show you the vendors who do this, but they do this because people have asked for it, demanded it, offered money, paid them to do it in that way, and they're serving a customer base, and they do what they're told to do. What I prefer, of course, is here's one example. This is using a particular tool. I don't need to call out which one it is, but this shows the work. And if you want to work on that, you drag your little icon onto that thing while you're working there. So if people want to talk to you about it, they can. But this one isn't Miguel's job. This is a piece of work that Miguel happens to be working on. He was actually taking on too many jobs at once. You can see he has 3 of them. Can he really work on all 3 at once? No, he can't. And there's this guy, Tim, who has a cartoon icon instead of a real face. He was working on one thing. That's good. And then you got this other guy, Alex, who felt like he could work on 3 at a time. Also, 4. Oh, goodness, Alex. And then here's Bill doing 1. So, by having the work primary and whoever happens to be on there is a temporary attribute is a powerful thing. Most tools don't allow this, right? They insist on individual assignments. Is that maximum safety? Is that maximum continuous delivery? Is that maximizing learning? Is that what makes all of our developers better at what they do? It's none of them. It is as anti-modern agile as you can possibly be. The other piece of that, though, I did want to bring up this little Venn diagram. There's nothing wrong with starting with Scrum, and being a perfect Scrum team is not a goal, being as agile as possible. There's some things in Scrum that I think go a little outside the agile box. That's probably not that important, but you could start here, but you'd want to grow into, more agile ways of working. And there's different kinds of Scrum butts. There are people who do Scrum, but they've adapted it to be less agile. And you see that leaving the circle here on the right. There are other people who are adopting Scrum, but they found better ways of working, more continuous, more service-focused, more safe. And so they're more agile. They're kind of Scrum-ish, but they're more agile. And then there's other people who've just started on something that was not Scrum to begin with, and they're agile as heck. Agile AF. And that's great. I think that you could just start with continuous deployment and safety and service and learning as primary goals. I think that you could become very powerfully agile without ever using a framework. But like you said, people are really good at what, they're not so good at why. So sometimes you need to start somewhere, and I would say that's fine. If you want to start with XP, or if you want to start with Scrum, that's fine. I think it's important where you start, there'll be a lightweight framework. I would never take somebody from nothing to full-on safe, some huge scaled Agile framework to begin with, because by the time they get there, they will have ingrained all of this process, all of this information flow, all of this hierarchy, all of these procedures and practices, and they may not be able anymore to see beyond that to 4 simple values.
That's a great point. Yeah, start with why, not what. You'd also talked about permission, the values and how, and you mentioned the word permission specifically, and so I was wondering how you think about the word permission as it relates to modern Agile. Is it permission to change the process, to have your own process? What were your thoughts?
So I'm going to bring up another picture because I'm big on pictures. It's always funny. I have a lot of pictures. I'm never sure which ones I need. So there's this idea that, let's think about an organization you work for. There are things that you are required to do. There's really no judgment involved in that. You work there, you must do it. So do not shoot your coworkers. Don't come naked to work. Don't urinate on the floor. Whatever it is, there's a set of rules, right? That's really not a permission thing. That's just rules. Not very exciting. There's also things they're completely forbidden. Now, if you are going to work strictly on a basis of required and forbidden, and there's no room in the middle, there's no permission given, then you're really kind of dealing with a situation that works great in maybe boot camp or prison. But there's really no reason to hire smart people, right? So here on the left, everything is either required or forbidden. You don't need smart people for that. You don't hire knowledge workers. What you want is the dumbest set of hands that can actually do the job as cheaply as possible. When we start talking about modern Agile, though, it's about making people awesome and growing and learning and having safety. Then we clearly have to have a broad discretionary space that's granted, right? So I have to have enough initial trust invested in a team that I can give them some goals. And I can say, hey, you guys work this out, figure this out among yourselves, do this the best way you can imagine, let me know how I can help, go. And that taking the hands off, that relinquishing of control in order to allow people to blossom is key. And if you look in the modern Agile values, I would say all 4 of those kind of require that you allow people to solve their problems and other people's problems in software. This discretionary space is really important. And so permission is given, as in do what you need to do within this space. The guidelines are clear. You still must wear clothes to work. You still cannot shoot your coworkers. But within that, what if I gave you the room that you don't have to have personal assignments to tasks as long as they get done? So I can hold a team accountable. It becomes a team person, an atomic unit. What if instead of telling you what the technical practices are, I tell you that we have to have continuous safe releases? How do you want to get there? Maybe you can find a way of getting there that doesn't require micro-testing and unit testing and TDD and BDD. Maybe you follow James Copeland. You think you can get there with design by contract, which is another approach. And maybe that's going to work great for you. In that case, that's wonderful. Be modern Agile and do design by contract instead of TDD. We tend to teach TDD, but of course that shows our XP roots. But there are ways of being modern Agile that we haven't thought of yet. And that's awesome. Go do those things, explore that space, because we're supposed to be finding better ways.
That's an awesome graphic, Tim. Any chance you could share that with everybody?
Oh, I can certainly do that.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
you get it to me, I'll be sure to share it with everybody.
Okay. And of course, that's the trick is in this space, there has to be a mission, right? And the fear is, well, what if they do the wrong thing? So we all come down to alignment and accountability, recruiting people, making sure they're on board with what we want to see, what we're worried about, being transparent as human beings. And of course, you're going to make decisions. And if you're going to make decisions, then you can now be accountable for your decisions. You can say, yeah, I decided to do it this way because of this. And then instead of, well, you are a bad person, it becomes, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why that seemed like the right decision. And I wonder why it didn't turn out. And we can talk about accountability of the process and accountability, in a proper uplifting way instead of accountability as a code word for scapegoating.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, I worked with some companies that are now finally getting on board with the idea of giving the team a mission and allowing them to self-organize and create their own teams. Before, there was this fear that they would be very selfish and only pick the most high performers and all go in one team, and they would leave everybody out. And it's like, no, if you give the team a mission, they actually won't do that. So that's one way that you can, I guess, start to grow maybe along that path of you might have Scrum, but maybe you can allow your teams to self-organize and even switch teams if they wish. Those kind of things maybe can get us along that path of being more modern Agile-ish.
One person actually put in the comments the Lulu culture model. This modern Agile takes you a lot closer to that teal section, which is very amazing.
I think that's a good observation. And I think that's because we have similar intention in mind, similar goals. We didn't actually read up on Lulu prior to working these things out. It was a historic thing. Somebody had asked for some stories about how this came about. So we started talking about, Josh really brought this up because we were doing safety and engineering, how to be a software engineer who focuses on safety. And safety is really important. But then we realized it wasn't the whole enchilada. It's 1/4. And we're trying to figure out what is the rest of it. And if you look back in the archives, do some Google searches, you'll find some diagrams that have these Venn diagram looking things that have like 15 bubbles. There's all this complicated stuff. Well, it's going to involve TDD and it's going to involve this and that and the other and the other and the other. And then it was like, wait, maybe it doesn't. So we spent the longest time trying to winnow it down to just the smallest possible number of things that we can describe and how to phrase those so they fit on a sticker, which is, by the way, incredibly difficult. You have no idea how hard it is to take a big idea and fit it into that space. Luckily, that's something that we have experience on. Hold on.
I love the stickers.
Have you seen this?
No, I have actually not.
Oh, this is cool. So this is Agile in a Flash. And what it is it's 52 cheat sheets for how to do Agile. And Jeff Langer and I created this. I'd come up with the idea serendipitously. It was just lucky. And we thought, there's things that we spend all morning teaching that we could just give somebody a cheat sheet in 15 minutes and they could go do it. And that was so exciting that we ended up taking almost all of Agile and several things that really aren't necessarily Agile and squeezing it into 52 cards. And this is the print version. These don't exist anymore right now. Pragmatic Programmers is still selling Agile in a Flash, but only as a PDF. So you got to print your own if you buy it now. But it's the idea of getting big ideas into tiny, tiny spaces. So you'll find all kinds of little helpful things in there. So since we've done that, this is the tiniest space yet. Now it's a sticker. Well, how do I get all of Modern Agile into 4 quadrants, 6 words each? And we still have struggles with it, by the way. Classically, make people awesome. Okay, one way to trigger is the word awesome. Awesome is a word used by stupid people. Oh, okay, a lot of words are used by stupid people. Of the words used by stupid people, awesome is not the most offensive. We do have the universal adjective. But awesome is, oh, well, that's what Valley Girls, oh, that's awesome. Oh, this donut is awesome. And it's like, well, how can you use that word? That's unprofessional. We actually mean inspiring awe. If it helps any, we're using the actual dictionary definition. Have you ever had a customer service experience where they helped you so much that you just wanted to hug them? And it was like, wow, that was amazingly easy. That was not painful at all. I expected this to be 4 hours on the telephone in an argument. And they said, oh, let me fix that. Oh, and I also noticed this. Can I fix that too? And you're like, right? So we actually do mean it in that way. Look what happened when I got GPS guidance and I was no longer afraid to go eat at a restaurant. You know, that's power. So we do mean it that way. And then the other part is that it has the phrase at the beginning, make people, right?
Yeah.
Which seems to imply coercion and force and possibly violence. Why are you going to make people be awesome? You can't make people be awesome if they don't want to be awesome. It's like, no, 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 no. This isn't about demanding. It's about providing. So how about if you just said, provide the ability and information and tools so that people can become awesome at the things they do. Just say it that way. And I'm like, yeah, but I can't use 3-point print in the sticker. I need this much space. So Josh and the rest of the team, and often we have this discussion and we end up having to defend and provide. And I know the secret of listening to feedback is you listen and you ask clarifying questions. You do not defend. And I've tried very, very hard to just listen. And we've written articles and we've written documents full of alternative descriptions, and we can't find anything that covers. And people say, well, why don't you just say, provide an awesome environment for your developers? And it's like, because that just looks inward. We want to look outward. And it's like, well, why don't you just say, make customers awesome, like Kathy Sierra does? It's like, because we don't just mean the customers, we also mean our people. Well, make your testers awesome. No, because we also mean the managers and the developers and the customers and the great grand boss and the salespeople and the customer service. People, just everybody, make everybody awesome. Well, it still has make. How do I fix that?
Yeah, I guess you can't find one word to fit everybody, but I love the word awesome. And so does Coop. So there you go.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you like it. And, you know, if we come up with something that's far more inclusive and beautiful and doesn't hit the trigger words and all, then we'll change it. It's a website and a sticker, you know, it's real easy to fix. Please send your submissions to tim@industriallogic.com and we'll take them all, right? Or catch any of us at Agile 2017. There's a whole bunch of Industrial Logic people wandering around.
Oh, great.
Some of us will have hats.
I will be there.
Oh, that's great. We should get together.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Wow. So we have, it's 20 minutes past 12. So I just want to ask anyone, do you have any other burning questions for Tim? He spent so much amazing time with us. Any last questions for him? No? Really? He's answered all of our questions.
Wow.
That's
Look how efficient I am. I was continuously delivering value and I finished my project early.
Oh, look. Someone wants to see the Venn diagram. Is that
Oh, okay. The big ugly prior Venn diagram?
Venn diagram?
Or, okay, let me see if I can find that real quick.
Yeah, if possible. So for everyone who registered also, I can, anything that he shares with me, I'll be emailing it out to everybody, and it's going to also be on the Coaching Agile Journeys website, and this video will also be posted on YouTube, so we'll be extremely happy to share.
I got it. I found it, and I know how to share it. I'm becoming more proficient.
I love that diagram.
Yeah, it's trying to be more specific. I know it's probably appearing as a tiny window. I don't know how to make it bigger. It doesn't seem to want to expand itself with the normal mechanism. Oh, there we go.
That looks bigger.
How's that?
Looks great.
So, you know, this was a later one. This isn't the first one. And this nicely enough came down to, you know, the key ideas, and it shows the overlap and how they run together. make safety, this is as we are coming up on these answers of how they tie together, but you can still see there's a lot of stuff. That's complicated. Some great words in here though. Apply lean user experience, leverage lean startup, charter your work. Those are all, you know, identify your community and how you're going to serve them. Make it safe to fail, conduct blameless retrospectives. Big key, talk about the work, not about the people. Evolving solutions, collaborating, deploy, focus on flow, get product committees test and refactored, deploy and release, respect, appreciate. There's nothing in here that's bad. It's just, it's a damned ugly sticker. And you can't get it on your laptop. If you put it on the back of your Mac, you won't be able to see the Apple logo. Oh, shame of shames. How shall we live?
The form product communities is something that we don't often hear a lot about. But what spurred you to put that on there? I can remember.
So when we're thinking about making people awesome, it's like, who are those people, right? And so part of our chartering thing is we take a look at who's the community around the product. So this will involve the people who are materially participating in the production, of course, people who are analyzing, specifying, etc. It's the users whose world is going to be changed by it who are going to be giving us our feedback. It is the financial sponsors internally and externally to the company, sales, support, operations. So it's identifying the people who we're going to be touching as we build this product. And without doing that, it's like, it's easy to focus on me making myself awesome and not you making yourself awesome, and not me making you awesome or you making me awesome. So the idea of combining it together is we need to see who our community really is, and chartering and product committees are ways that it pulls together. So I like that it's called community rather than developers, PO users. Yes, I do too.
Definitely.
Anything on applying modern beyond software development in other industries? Yes, actually, we had a meeting in Sardinia. Beautiful place, by the way. I didn't get to go. I'm so upset. But Josh and several of them went, and they brought in a master chef from the area who has a Michelin star restaurant. And he explained how he applies these principles in his work in his kitchen, which is pretty amazing, really. And he even conducted a cooking experiment illustrating the principles, which I think was a pretty cool thing. And I think there's a write-up on that somewhere, either on Medium or on our blog. You could find that. It would be interesting. So yeah, there's nothing about this that requires it. If we actually, you can apply it to a coaching practice in addition to a software development practice. So as a coach, am I making my sponsors, my mentees, I don't know what you call them, my coachees? What's the word? Coachees sounds like an Indian chief. So the people I'm working with directly, the people who are paying for me to go work with them, the company I'm representing, the communities I represent, these are all, you know, my project community. How do I make them awesome? How, when I'm doing my work, do I let people know that, you know, Alan and Josh and Alex and Ashley are all, you know, how do I make them more powerful? What can I take back that makes them better? How can I bring them in a way that's beneficial to the customer? What's the best cost savings? What's the best return on investment I can provide? And how can we learn safely? And modeling learning, by the way, is a big part of what happens when you're a coach who follows Modern Agile. It's so cool to walk in and be able to say, you know, I've not worked here before. I don't know. Let's explore that. Let's go ask some questions. Let's go find out. And so for people to learn that they don't have to live within a box, that they can actually go out and acquire permission and information, is often an eye-opening moment, a transformative practice. Does Josh share this at Agile? Yes, he did. And so did I, by the way. There's a bunch of us who can't give a talk on any topic without sharing Modern Agile. And we have some specific Modern Agile talks that we give, and we share a lot of this. So yeah, if you go take a look, there's plenty of videos of Josh giving these talks on Modern Agile. for the past a couple years, and you can see the ideas evolving and the exposition evolving as you go from one to the next. It's very interesting stuff. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I hope everybody's enjoyed it as much as I have. And also want to thank everybody who took time out of their day to join the call in person. And also Shrikant, it was great to collaborate with you. So we're going to collaborate again very soon. So look forward to hearing more about our collaboration. And thank you again, Tim. I look forward to seeing you at Agile 2017.
It'll be a good time. See you all there. If you see me, come and give me a handshake, a high five, or a hug. I'll catch you there.
Thanks,
Thank
Tim.
you.
Bye.